I have so much with fun with magic tricks, folks. I'm going to give you a little introduction on magic and how it can be used in your presentations. And you don't have to be a magician. That's the first thing I want you to know. A magician, it's so funny to me because people come up to me and say, "Oh, your illusions were so great." And I know if a professional magician was sitting in the crowd, they'd be getting sick and want to throw up because they weren't. But when you don't have the expectations of being a magician, you can do some beautiful tricks, and we're going to do a series of them for you over a bunch of short videos, but I just want to give you a little introduction now. Most of the time in speeches, both humor and magic are used to help you make a point or reinforce a point. Now, if you're using them just as entertainment, that's fine too. There's a lot of comedy magic that's just hysterical. But if you're using it as a business presenter, most of the time it's used to make a point. Now, what you say during the time the magic trick is happening in the business is called patter, P-A-T-T-E-R. So it's basically going along when the trick is going along, helping make or reinforce the point. Now, just a little background on how you can gain more insight into magic. Stop by a magic shop. It is so much fun. You will have a blast, I can guarantee it. But what you want to do is tell the owner or the proprietor, whoever's working there, that you are a speaker and you're looking for some illusions to help add to your speaking engagements. And you might go in with some particular points that you want to learn how to illustrate so that they'll have something to work with. Now, here's the thing about magic shops and magic videos. You've got to get this down right away. Don't go in there and say, "Hey, show me how to do a certain trick." They'll forget it. They won't do it. They'll hem-haw around and they'll skirt the issue. But when you deal with magic or buying magic videos or going to a magic shop, they will not give you the trick until you buy the illusion or the gimmick or whatever it is. That's just the deal, folks. Don't even try to circumvent it or they won't want to deal with you at all. Once you buy the trick, most of the magic shop owners or people working there will show you how to do it because you are purchasing the trick. And I'm actually coming out with a line of videos for speakers on how to use magic, and they will be non-returnable, where most of my other materials are returnable because you are buying the trick. Now, here's the first thing you need to know when you're dealing with magic. Don't buy the trick until you assess the skill level necessary to do the trick. And most of the shop owners will tell you about that. So you would ask them, listen, is this a self-working trick, which means you just buy the gimmick and it does it itself with you just being there? Does it take a little bit of practice? Or they might say, listen, this requires sleight of hand. This might be a little too advanced for you at this point. So they will tell you that in advance because they don't want you to buy a trick that you're unable to use and you'll be unhappy. So visit magic shops and you'll be able to get a lot of insight on the tricks that you're going to see coming up. What I'll be doing here in the next few videos is showing you a trick and then immediately going into the explanation of the trick so that you can put them in place in your speaking presentations. And also I'll give you maybe a little example of the pattern that goes along. That'll change for me than it would for you. But you'll always want to have something to say while the trick is going on because in many cases the trick is very simple and can be over in a few seconds. But it's the pattern and the story you build around the trick that really makes it memorable for the audience. So we'll see you on the next few magic videos. Well, this is a trick, I think it's called the Professor's Nightmare. And this is something that I use if we're talking about teamwork and people worrying about losing their individuality. Now, this uses a set of ropes, three different ropes, 3 different lengths. And this kind of represents people in your organization where they have different personalities, different skill levels. Some are tall, some are short, some are middle-sized, and they are all individuals. But sometimes we want to make them work like a team, and they feel like that if they work like a team, they'll lose their individuality. And I like to illustrate that with taking these 3 separate ropes. And when you work as a team, you're more or less equal whenever you're working in the team. The individuality is important when you're working on your own, but when you're a team member, you've kind of got to be just like everyone else and do your part. As you can see, the ropes are now the same length. And people think, well, gee, I've lost my individuality. How can I be effective in this team if I can't do my thing? Well, teams don't exactly work like that. You have to mesh and work with everybody and be kind of the same for a while. But you know what? That really doesn't mean that you haven't lost your individuality. Because when the teamwork is done, you're all individuals. Well, this one's a lot of fun, folks. This is, I believe it's called the Professor's Nightmare, and it uses 3 what we call ungimmicked ropes. So there's no magnets in here. There's nothing special about these ropes other than the fact that I went to a fabric store and had nice thick ones that are very pliable so that they're easy to see on stage. Now, we measured these up for you. If you want to make a set of these on your own, the short one is 13 inches. Let's see, the middle one is 36 inches and the long one is 46 inches. And basically, as you saw in the performance part, we made them appear to be all the same length. Now, the trick is actually happens in the first few seconds after I put them in my hand. The short one is to the left, clipped with my thumb. The middle one is in the middle, and the long one is on the right. Now, when I start putting the other ends up in my hand, the whole trick occurs in the first time that I put up. While I'm talking to you, and you wouldn't want to look at your hand when you're doing this because the audience will look where you look. So when I put it up here, the whole trick is done by taking the short end and twisting it right one time behind the long, what's the long end. So the whole trick occurs right there. So you're starting out with short, medium, long. Pick up the short one, put a little twist on it at the top. Then bring up the medium one and keep it to the right. Then bring up the long one and keep it to the right. Now, what you're going to do with your right hand, you can reverse this totally if you're left-handed, is grab the 3 on the right, the ends on the right, and with your left thumb and fingers are going to clip the 3 on the left. And then when you pull them apart, in magic we call this the big motion hiding the small motion. So the big motion of us pulling these apart hides the fact that all I have done is taken the short loop and wrapped it around the long one to make this equal. So this knot is hidden in this left hand. So they all appear to be relatively equal. And then you can pass them from hand to hand by, in fact, with these ropes being the color that they are, you can almost flash the fact that there's a knot there and they will not see it. But as I pass it from hand to hand, I'm covering the knot with my hand as I switch the knot to the other hand. And I show so I can pass it back and forth all day and nobody knows what's going on. Then when I get to the part about being individual, I've already shown the ropes that now equal length. I pick the middle length rope and I'm looking away from here now and show that it's back now, its normal length, and I can put it down. Now, this is where a little bit of sneakiness goes on. I don't want to take this rope and pull it up like this and show that the end is coming out and then all I have left is this. That gives away the trick. So what I do is I hide that fact with a bunch of rope movement. So basically I'm grabbing one of the long strands and I'm just flipping this and a lot of rope action. So now there's just the short end left as I pull the long end out. And then when the short end gets pulled out, it just pulls out through my hand, and that is the professor's nightmare. All right, let me show you that again at speed. The short one is clipped in the left thumb. The middle one is next, very logical sequence, sticking up above your left hand, and the long one is placed on the outside edge. Remember, the whole trick is done right here on the first twist of twisting the short rope around the long one. Then you bring up the middle one. Then you bring up the long one. You have to remember to grab the right ends here. So the three on the right and the three on the left will be grabbed in separate hands and pulled right in front of the audience. And then you can adjust them and play with them and show them around by hiding them, the knot behind your hand. And then when it comes time to reveal, you pick the middle one first. You can clearly see on stage here which one is which. You can see the knot, you can see the loop, and you can see the one by itself. So pick the one by itself and get rid of it. Show that it's returned to its normal length. And then this is where the flurry of ropes conceals the dirty business that you're doing here. So you grab one strand of the long one, which is either one is fine because it's the only one hanging down here. And then flip the other one over so that it's now in your hand, the only one left. Show the long one, and then show the short one. Now, this is what we call ending clean. There's no gimmicks, there's no anything. The dirty deed was done with the loop, so you can hand these out for inspection both before and after the trick, and that's called the professor's nightmare. Well, I want to thank you so much for having me here this evening. I understand you're facing some difficulties in your workplace, and sometimes it feels impossible for you to get the job done, but I've brought some solutions for you to show you that it is possible to do the impossible sometimes. So I thought we'd just go bowling. And this is a real bowling ball fitting in my briefcase. But folks, we're going to have a little fun tonight, but we're also going to learn that we can accomplish a lot more than what we think we can. Well, this is one of those tricks, folks, that's just what we call a self-working trick. If you just buy the gimmick, then you can do this trick just like that. Basically, we're talking about a gimmicked briefcase here. Now, if we look at the other side, and you're probably wondering, how did he do that? Well, the briefcase has a false back. Let's see if we can see it where the bulge is. This is all elastic inside, so that you could put a basketball or whatever you want in there, and it will be hidden. This is also a thing called black art. When everything's black, sometimes it just fades into nothingness. And when I walked on stage, if you can pull back there, Deuce, I had the bulge hidden behind towards me. So it just looks like a briefcase. And then, of course, I had to keep it sitting up because it wouldn't sit so good on the bulge. But once I release the latches, I can let the case sit down, and the ball is now pushing up. You can see it here now. And then you can pull out a basketball and start bouncing it. What would be great is to get a basketball printed up. You can get them custom imprinted with the name of the group you're speaking to. This would be a great thing, and then just give it to them as a souvenir and a remembrance of doing the impossible. So this is just a basic gimmick that you can get at any magic shop or order it through any magic shop, and you'll make a big impression when you show up. Well, folks, I'm so glad you had me here today. You know what? I'm here to help you make big money today and make it fast and make it easy. That's my whole goal in life. And when I'm talking about making money fast, this is the kind of way I like money to come to me. Like that. That's how we do it. And we're going to do it fast and we're going to do it easy. And you all are going to make the most this year of any of your other salespeople. Very simple self-working trick, folks. These are called spring bills. You can buy them at any magic shop, and if you need a bigger bunch of them, you just tie a bunch of them together. Basically, they're fake stage money. Each one of them, to set the trick, you clamp them down on their spring and just keep putting them together. As many of them as you want, tie them all together. They probably have different denominations. They probably have hundreds and 50s and whatever you want. Once you get them down flat, you can put them in your pocket and they'll stay there totally until you're ready to use them. Those of you that do a lot of financial or money type presentations or for salespeople, these are great. These are called spring bills. They'll sit in your pocket, in your coat pocket, and all you do is just release them. Very simple magic trick, self-working, get it at any magic shop. Okay, folks, we're going to go into one of the old standbys of magic tricks. This is called the cut and restored rope. And in performance, you might say something like, you know, folks, a lot of people say there's a mind-body connection, but some people dispute that fact that there's a mind-body connection. But I'm a real believer in such a thing. We're going to do a little demonstration or experiment to maybe illustrate that fact. So I'm going to take a piece of rope here, and by the way, if anybody would like to challenge that this is a real piece of rope, I'd be happy to hand it out to any of you. And here we go. There's Deuce checking this out. Deuce, it's real rope, right? All right. Thanks for switching the fake rope in for me, Deuce. The cameraman's helping me out. So we're going to take this piece of rope. We'll go down to the middle. And what we're going to do is cut this piece of rope. Now, you may think that I'm really cutting this, but I'm actually not cutting it. It's going to look like it's going to cut. Can you see this on there? Does it look like it's really cutting? Take a peek. It looked like I cut a hole in that, didn't it? Well, you know, we're talking about magic here today, but well, I guess I did cut it. I might have made a mistake here. Well, maybe I can fix it. Just like you can fix your mind-body connection. You know, if you think good thoughts, you'll feel better. You'll feel like a whole person. So let's see what we can do about this. I'm going to tie these two ends of the rope together. And there, I restored the rope. Pretty good, huh? Well, if it wasn't for that knot in the middle, huh? Well, you know what? When we're working on improving our lives and being a more whole person, sometimes we run into little kinks like this, but I think if you try hard enough and if you keep in mind that you've got a good mind-body connection and what you think will make you feel better, you can overcome little difficulties like this. So what I think I'll do is I'll move this out of the way a little bit. Maybe I'll move it down here. And then maybe it's still in my way a little bit. So I've got to try harder to keep up a good attitude in life, and it'll make me feel better. So I think I'll move it way down here. And maybe I'll just get rid of it altogether. All these little pains in the neck that keep you from feeling good. And now we've got a nice restored rope. Well, here we go, folks. Let me tell you a little bit about this classic of magic, of the cut and restored rope. And there's many different handlings of this, but before we get into how the trick actually works, I'm going to show you a little bit about actually magic rope. You can do this trick with any type of rope. This rope is what we call ungimmicked. There's no magnets in it, no special thing about it at all. But you can buy magic rope either in big spools like this or in smaller quantities, and you can even get different colors so it shows better on stage, although white seems to do real well. Now, to make it easier to work with, there's a core to this rope. And if you grab the end of it and slide the outer core off of the inner core, you have to like snake it down a little bit as you're pulling. You can pull the outer core out of the rope. And actually you can use the inner core to practice with quite a bit. But it will unravel on you. But it's a good thing to practice so you get double the length of the rope to work with. But now, this rope is much more supple and easy to work with and knot and so forth. All right, now let's get into this classic of magic called the cut and restored rope. The reason I do it this way, and the way I'm going to show you, is because it's very clean. There's no gimmicks either before or after the trick. You can hand the rope out and you're totally clean. You can do it with any piece of rope and a pair of scissors. Even you speakers could do it with a fake microphone cord or something else like that that applies to your setting. But the way this trick works is that you are actually cutting the rope, but you're not cutting the middle of the rope. And that's what you're trying to make the audience believe, that you're cutting this loop in the middle of the rope. Well, you're not actually cutting the middle of the rope. You are cutting the end off of the rope, a little end. Let me show you the little trick. Just like some of the other tricks, it's almost over right at the beginning. So here's how this one works. You hold the rope here between your forefinger and your thumb. You take your other hand and slide it down the middle, pretending that you're just trying to find the middle of the rope. When you bring the rope up, you're using these three fingers to clip. Can you get it a little closer on this, Deuce? You're clipping, here we go, one side of this rope with these fingers and pulling that up as a loop. Let me show you that again. You're starting here, and you've got two pieces of rope clipped between your forefinger and your thumb. Then, when you bring the loop up, you're grabbing one piece of the rope and letting the original loop sit on it as you pick up and make a loop here, which is actually just the end of the rope. Now, you do have a loop here. It's hidden, and if I just put my thumb over a little bit, even with a tight close-up here, this looks like that it's the loop that I originally pulled up. You can even have a spectator do the cut for you right on stage and go actually cut the rope. The spectator can do that because they cannot see what's going on right behind your thumb. Then, what you want to do is hold on to those, and now it still looks like it's just two ropes hanging. Pull back a little bit there, Deuce. He's going to make you sick like we're at the, at the amusement park. But it looks like two ropes hanging. Now, what I did in the original performance is all I did was take the two ends, they're hidden behind my fingers, and tie a knot in them. Now the audience thinks that I tied the ends of the ropes together. But what I really did was just tie the little end around the rope. So it's actually a slip knot. It'll move. So you can pull at the one end, and remember all the patter is going on when this is happening. And pull it to the other end, and this is the obstacle we have to cover. And finally, I get rid of the obstacle altogether, throw it out to the audience. Nobody thinks the wiser that it's just the end of the rope. You can pull back now, Deuce. And you can pass the rest of the rope out. Nobody notices it's just a little bit shorter. So let me show you that again. We've got a rope that's passed out. We've got it clipped in the fingers. We take the other hand and grab with three fingers in the loop, come up and grab part of the original rope and pull it up as the loop. we get the scissors, or a spectator can be standing right there. The rope is clearly cut. Then we make sure we grab the right two ends, which is actually the little end of the rope. Come on in on that, Deuce. Tied around the long end of the rope, okay, which we then tie in a knot. Another handling of this, pull back a little bit, Deuce, would be to go ahead and hold the knot in your hand and wrap the rope around your other hand while you're sliding the knot off and making loops. So the big motion of making the loops is hiding this little knot being slid off, and then it is palmed, nothing fancy, just held in your right hand while all the attention is on the rope, and then you can show the rope as whole, throw it out to the audience, and go about your business and just ditch this under your table or in your pocket later. Give it a few 30 seconds or so people are not looking at this end. And you have just done the cut and restored rope. You know, I like to use newspaper articles, and I tear them out all the time when I'm on planes because it makes you look really current when you use a newspaper article during your presentation. And I found one on the way coming in here to do this presentation, and I just can't find it right now. I wanted to read you about speaking. Darn, I was looking for it. I had it saved. I tore a bunch of things out that I thought you'd be interested in. Oh, maybe it's in here. Oh, darn, that's not it either. Well, I'm sorry I couldn't find it, but, you know, maybe this will just have to do here. Maybe it's in here somewhere. Lady swallows goldfish. No. Well, I'll just have to tell you about it. Well, this is called the no-tear paper restore. This is much easier than doing the torn and restored paper that you've seen other speakers do sometimes. So this is a basic self-working gimmick. You can buy it at just about any magic shop. It's called the no-tear newspaper. And basically, it works because of magnets. Some of the other ones have wires in them, and they have glue. You have to do all this gluing and stuff. This one just has magnets. Hidden inside a packet here, a restore packet it's called. And these are just miscellaneous pieces of torn paper about the same size, very nondescript, torn from the stock section, so it doesn't really show anything. And then the other side of it is a magnet hidden between two sheets of newsprint. Again, so that's the one that holds the packet together. So there's a magnet in this side. There's a magnet in the big restore packet, and these are just anything. Now, if you're a little industrious, you can actually use the paper. You could make these in your hotel room the night before and just glue magnets in between some paper, and you're ready to go. This is your first packet that has to be hidden and held with certain folds that you will use to grab when you do the restore. It's all in the instructions. And then you riffle around looking for articles that you swear that you tore out that you wanted to read to the people. And then the last one that comes out, and you're holding them like this, and the last one that comes out is the one with the magnet on it. Still looks like a piece of paper. And then you put it to hold the whole packet together. So now the magnets and the back packet and the front packet are holding all the loose pieces together. Then you have paper, corners of the paper earmarked here, and I see I folded it wrong, so I don't know if it's going to come out right or not. But this paper will now unravel and turn into a regular paper that you can then actually open and read. And if it was their paper, that would be an extra bonus, but you can open and close this paper. So now the packet is hidden right there, but I'm showing it from this angle. So as I close this piece of paper, I can turn around and show it from this angle, and there's nothing funny about it. And then you can just squash it up or fold it up and throw it and keep on going. So this is, again, a self-working gimmick. If you want to get fancier about it, you can learn the folding of the paper real well, and then use a current paper when you get to your hotel room. So that's the No-Tear Paper Restore. I want to show you how to make big money, folks, and it's as simple as making big money. This is a very simple gimmick called Expando. It's a self-working again, so there's no real practice involved in this other than what you're going to say. It's basically a regular dollar bill glued to a big dollar bill, a giant dollar bill, or a 5 or a 20 or a 100, whatever you want, so that when it comes out quickly, it turns into big money. Very simple trick. You can buy them or actually make them yourself if you can do the fold. This is called Expando. Sorry, folks. You know how, don't you hate it when you get like gravel in your throat when you're on stage? Excuse me. Oh, there, I feel much better now. Well, this is a little piece of foam gravel that you can get at any magic store. You can even get bigger ones that has even a bigger effect. You can also put these things in your shoe because they compress and walk on them and act like, oh, I must have picked up a piece of gravel, and take your shoe off and pour out this big piece of gravel. So it's a lot of fun. I always do like, let me get a drink of water here. I always do like to keep water on stage with me because, you know, I get a little hoarse once in a while, and having a good drink of water will make it a lot easier on me when I'm on stage. So here's to you, and here's the magic. Well, this is called Airborne, folks. You can get these different bottles in magic shops where they're gimmicked so that there's a little fish hook on there tied to a weight that's inside the bottle. You don't really need to see that well, but just trust me on it. And then inside the cup, there's a string that's going across that you hook the fishing wire on. Then when you pour the water out, it makes the fishing wire that's here disappear, and it's just a great effect. You do have to practice a little bit to get the hook on right the first time, or if you mess up, there's a good way to save yourself, is if you miss it, just go ahead and take a drink of water, set it down, and do the trick a little bit later in your speech. But anyway, this is called Airborne. Sometimes they make the gimmicks you can buy and put it on any kind of bottle, but they have wine bottles and champagne bottles and Coke bottles and all kinds of things. This is called Airborne. They'll wonder how you did it. One trick that you got to remember, and I learned this the hard way because I borrowed this from a magician friend of mine, and I think these cost about 40 or 50 bucks, is that I left it on my table at the break. Well, the cleanup crew came and threw it in the dumpster, and we had to get all the cleanup guys to go and pull garbage out of the dumpster to find this gimmick. So if you leave it on your table at a break, hide it underneath somewhere so it doesn't disappear. That's Airborne, folks. I hate it when the AV is not right. I ordered a mic stand around here. Shoot. Where is it? Well, you know what? A good professional speaker will come prepared with their own stuff in case the room is not right, and you know it's always that way. So I know I brought an extra mic stand around here somewhere. Let me see if I can find it. Let's see. I have a bunch of stuff in here. Let me see. Oh, I think I found it. Oh, yeah, good. Yeah, I got it. There's my mic stand. Ah, a good professional speaker is always prepared. God, I hate it when my AV is not here. I know I ordered a mic stand. Shoot. Oh, it's almost time to start. Well, you know, a good professional speaker would be ready in a case like this. And so, you know, I actually did. Oh, here's my spare mic stand. I got it right here. Oh, great. There, now I'm ready to speak. Wow, this is a great trick, folks, and somebody is making a fortune off of this, I got to tell you, because these things must cost $50 or $60. This is an expanding mic stand. This is a soda straw, so you could use it in a customer service presentation saying, like, I hate when they forget the little details, you know, like giving you the straw. That's why I always have to bring one of my own. And then you go get a bag and pull this straw out of it. Well, the way it works is that, I can't do that. I'm going to hold this Vanna, is just a simple technique of a rolling piece of plastic. This must have been a $2 thing for your shower, you know, and somebody cut it down straight and made it so it would roll up and put candy stripes on it. So it's the same concept for the mic stand, in that when you roll it up, it'll look like, the illusion is just so funny, that you're pulling a 6-foot straw out of a paper bag that couldn't possibly hold it. So the way that would work, you'd have a rubber band around it in there to keep it from expanding, and then you'd say, well, gee, I'm glad I brought my own straw, and there it comes out of this little paper bag, and people will freak out. You can actually, they have ones that you can pull a whole 8-foot ladder out of a briefcase. So it's a great concept, a lot of fun, self-working trick. You can use a mic stand, or this is a straw, or they have actually brooms that you can pull out, or a ladder. And I don't know what this is called, but just tell them you want an expanding straw about 6 feet at your magic shop, and they'll take care of you.